The road stretched infinitely into the void, swallowed by the night. The moon was a sickly crescent, barely offering enough light to distinguish the dark silhouettes of trees lining the lonely highway. Jack tightened his grip on the steering wheel, feeling the weight of exhaustion creeping into his bones. It was supposed to be a simple late-night drive, one final ride home after a long business trip. But something felt raw. His radio crackled, an unnatural distortion, static. A whisper? Jack adjusted the dial, but every station was the sama grating, whispering hiss. He frowned, turning it off, leaving only the hum of the tires against the pavement and the occasional sigh of the wind. A sign loomed ahead. Next gas station, 20 miles. His fuel gauge teetered close to empty, but he was sure he had filled up before leaving. He swallowed uneasily. Maybe he'd miscalculated. The road was deserted. Not a single pair of headlights had appeared in his rearview mirror for miles. The further he drove, the more oppressive the night became. The trees loomed taller, their skeletal branches reaching toward him as if whispering secrets of those who had driven this road before and never returned. Then he saw it. A flicker in the distance. Headlights? No, it was dimmer. A figure. A woman standing by the roadside, bathed in the red glow of his taillights as he passed her. Pale skin, tattered dress. Her face hidden under a mop of long, tangled hair. Jack's stomach clenched. His foot hovered over the brake. But before he could act, the car lurched violently. A loud bang reverberated through the vehicle. A flat tire. His breath came in quick gasps. Not now. Jack pulled over, heart hammering. He reached for his phone. No signal. The world beyond his windshield was suffocatingly still. The trees stood silent, watching. He stepped out, the air unnervingly still. The woman was gone. The tire was shredded, as if something had clawed into it. Not punctured, not slash-tripped. The whispering started again. This time, not from the radio, from the trees. Jack turned, his body rigid. The wind carried the whispers in slithering, unintelligible syllables, wrapping around him like fingers tracing his spine. A cold sweat dripped down his brow. Then, the whispers stopped. Silence. And a hand landed on his shoulder. Jack spun around, breath locked in his throat. But there was no one there. The road ahead stretched endlessly. But the road behind was gone. His car sat alone in the middle of nothingness. No trees, no signs, no distant horizon. Just black. A void that swallowed the world he had driven from. He took a step back, chest tightening. The woman was standing by the passenger side door now, closer. Her hair still obscured her face. Jack couldn't move. She lifted her head slowly, and as the strands parted, he wished he had never looked. Her face, if it was a face, was hollow, a yawning abyss of darkness, writhing with something unseen but felt. And then she smiled. The whispers exploded into a deafening shriek. Jack's vision went black, and the night swallowed him whole. The next morning, a police car idled by the roadside where Jack's last known location had been. But there was no car. No sign anyone had driven there at all. Just an abandoned stretch of road, silent beneath the rising sun. Jack opened his eyes, but there was no light, only darkness. Thick, suffocating, endless. His body felt weightless, as if suspended in ink-black void. No car, No road. No sky. Just nothing. A voice echoed through the emptiness, soft at first, a whisper slithering into his ears. Then it grew louder, warping, twisting into something familiar. His own voice. Drive. The word rang out, reverberating through the dark like ripples on a still pond. Jack's hands gripped an invisible wheel, his foot pressing onto a phantom pedal. And suddenly, a road materialized beneath him. The dashboard lights flickered back to life, illuminating his reflection in the rearview mirror. But it wasn't him. The figure in the mirror smiled. Jack screamed, but no sound came out. The car sped forward on its own, the speedometer needle climbing higher, faster, past the limits of reality. The road twisted and blurred, stretching into infinity. And in the distance, standing under the flickering glow of a phantom street lamp, the woman waited. Jack tried to slam the brakes, but the car wouldn't stop. The whispers returned, chanting in unison. The darkness around him thickened, pressing closer, coiling around his throat like an unseen hand. He could only watch as the woman stepped onto the road, arms outstretched, her face an abyss, her mouth widening into an inhuman grin. The car hurtled toward her. And then blackness. Somewhere, far beyond the world of the living, another sign flickered into existence on a desolate stretch of highway. Next gas station, 20 miles, and a lone car appeared on the horizon, engine humming, driver unseen. In the silence of the void, Jack remained trapped in the endless cycle. Each time, he woke up in his car, the same stretch of road ahead, the same sign taunting him with false hope. His hands gripped the wheel against his will, his voice swallowed by the relentless abyss. Every loop, the woman came closer. Every loop, she smiled wider. Jack no longer knew how many times he had driven this road. Hundreds? Thousands? The horror of realization crept in. This was forever. Somewhere in the real world, another driver took the same highway late at night. And in the shadows, Jack waited,